It's a quiet paradox, isn't it? We are told that our strength is measured by how much we can carry, how tightly we can hold on. We admire the mountain for its stillness, for its refusal to move. And so we try to become mountains. We brace ourselves against the winds of change, against the pull of time. We clench our fists around our memories, our identities, our pains, believing that to hold on is to survive. We hold our breath. We build walls from the wreckage of the past, calling it home. But look at your hand. A fist held long enough begins to ache. The muscles tremble. The circulation stops. The thing we are protecting, we end up crushing. We are so skilled in the physics of acquisition. But we are beginners in the art of release. What if letting go is not an act of violence or forgetfulness? What if it is not a failure of loyalty, but the highest form of it, a loyalty to the person you are now, not the person you once were? What if it is not an ending, but an opening? The sound of a door finally clicking open in a room you thought was sealed shut. It feels like a weight, doesn't it? Not the sudden burden of a heavy stone, but the slow accumulating pressure of sand. A single grain, then another, then a handful, until you find you are carrying a desert. You wake up, and for a moment, just a breath, you are new. The light is just light. The air is just air. And then it returns. The memory, the story, the grievance. It settles onto your shoulders before your feet have even touched the floor. This is the labor of holding on. It is a full-time occupation. We become curators of our own museums of pain. We walk the silent halls, polishing the exhibits. We replay the conversation, looking for the times, one-word times we missed. We dissect the moment of impact, hoping that if we look closely enough, we can reverse it. We read old messages, we look at old photographs. We visit the places where the ghost still lives. We call this remembering, but perhaps it is something else. Perhaps it is reliving, a refusal to let the past be past. And how does this feel in the body? It feels like armor, worn for so long we've forgotten the shape of our own skin. It's the tightness in the chest that we call anxiety, but is really just a breath that has been held for a decade. It's the shallow inhale, afraid to take in too much of the present, lest it dilute the potency of the past. It's the ache in the jaw from clenching. It's the knot in the stomach that we mistake for hunger. We are in a constant low-grade fight. We are bracing for an impact that has already happened. We tell ourselves we are holding on, but maybe it is holding on to time's us asterisk. We think it keeps us safe. We believe this familiar pain is a shield. We know its edges, its weight, its temperature. We have learned to live with it, and we are terrified of what we might find in its absence. Emptiness, freedom, they feel, from this side, dangerously alike. So we choose the known ache, we choose the story we can control, the one we recite to ourselves every morning. The story of times. Why, asterisk. Why it happened. Why it wasn't fair. Why we are right to be angry, or right to be sad. This story becomes our most loyal companion. It is the excuse we use to avoid the terrifying empty page of the present moment. We cannot begin a new chapter, we say, because the last one is not truly finished. But the past is never finished. It is not a thing that concludes. It is a place we simply choose to leave. Instead, we become watchers. We sit at the window of our own lives and we watch the world move. We see others laugh, connect, build, change. And we feel a quiet, bitter judgment. They don't understand. They haven't felt what I've felt. Our pain becomes a badge of separation, a high wall that keeps us safe but also keeps us desperately, profoundly alone. We are waiting for an apology that will not come, waiting for a return that is impossible, waiting for the person we were, before times at times happened, to walk back through the door. We are waiting for a sign that it is safe to put the burden down, but the sign never comes, because times are the ones who must give the permission. Life contracts. The world, which was once a vast ocean of possibility, shrinks to the size of this one unresolved thing. Our conversations circle back to it. Our choices are dictated by it. Our joy is rationed by it. We are not living. We are managing. We are ghosts, haunting the hallways of our own potential. And the exhaustion, the sheer bone-deep exhaustion of carrying it all, of keeping the narrative alive, of fanning the flames of an old fire just to prove that we are still warm. We have forgotten what it feels like to just be, to stand in the sun and feel only the Sunday, to listen to the rain and hear only the rain, without the filter, without the story. We have held our fist clenched for so long. We are no longer sure if there is anything inside. We are only afraid of the emptiness, afraid of the sudden lightness, afraid of who we might be without our beautiful, terrible, familiar burden. We have confused ourselves. We have built our lives around a profound misunderopening. We think that we are holding on to a times thing, asterisk. We think we are holding on to a person, onto a job, onto a home, onto a specific sun-drenched afternoon from a decade ago. We believe that with enough mental force, with enough devotion, we can keep the past alive in the present. But, in truth, that thing is already gone. The person has changed, or they have left. The moment has passed. Its atoms, long since scattered. The job has ended. The past is not a physical object we can possess. So, what are we times really times holding? We are holding a story. We are holding a times feeling asterisk. We are holding the times absence asterisk. The sharp-edged, empty space where something used to be. We are clenching our fists around an times idea asterisk. The idea of who we were when we had that thing. We are holding on to the ghost, not the person. We are holding the echo, not the voice. This is the great illusion. We are not in a struggle with the past. We are in a struggle with our time's own rehearsed narrative times about the past. And we do this because we think it is an act of loyalty. We believe to let go is to forget their face, to forget the lessons, to forget the love, or perhaps to forget the injustice. We believe that to release the pain is to imply that it never mattered, that times never mattered. So we guard the pain, we polish it, we keep it warm, we treat this profound familiar ache as the last sacred relic, the only proof we have that what we lost was real. This is the kind of truth that can break you open. Asterisk, asterisk. The love was real. It does not need your ongoing suffering as its witness. Asterisk, asterisk. The injustice was real. It does not need your endless anger as its fuel. Letting go is not forgetting. It is times remembering differently, asterisk. It is remembering without the fight. It is remembering without the desperation to drag the past into the present. It is allowing the memory to be a part of your history, but not the lens times, through which you must see your entire future. It is the difference between visiting a beautiful memorial and choosing to live inside the tomb. There is another layer to this, a deeper, more subtle trap. We have become attached to the identity times of the one who is holding on. We are the survivor. We are the one who was wronged. We are the heartbroken. We are the griever. These identities, they are heavy, yes, but they are times clear, asterisk. They give us a role. They give us a script. We know who we are in this story. The world understands this version of us. And the most terrifying question, the one that whispers in the silence just before sleep, is this: If I am not this pain, who am I? We are afraid that if we let go of the familiar heavy coat of our suffering, we will be left naked. We will be nothing, an empty space. But this asterisk, this times, is the central lie. You are not your pain. You are the times, space-times, that holds the pain. You are not the storm. You are the times, sky-times, that watches the storm pass. The storm is an event. It is weather. It is not the sky itself. The sky does not fight the storm. It does not try to hold on to the lightning or clutch the rain. It simply allows it to be and to move. We have forgotten that we are the sky. We have identified with the weather. We have forgotten that we are the times consciousness asterisk, the times awareness asterisk, in which the feeling of sadness or anger or loss arises. The feeling is a visitor. It comes, it stays, but we have been taught to lock the door and never let it leave. And this is why the art of letting go is so often misunderstood. We think it means to give up, to be weak, to surrender in defeat. We imagine it as a passive drift, a failure of will. It is, in fact, the precise opposite. Holding on is passive. It is the default setting. It is the unconscious rehearsed habit. It is the path of least resistance. It is letting the old neurological grooves of the past dictate the shape of your present. It takes no effort at all to keep clenching. Asterisk. Asterisk. Letting go is the most profound, active, and courageous choice a human being can make. Asterisk. Asterisk. It is not an act of weakness, it is an act of supreme times agency, asterisk. It is the deliberate, conscious, and often difficult choice to withdraw your energy from the story. It is the choice to stop feeding the ghost. It is the choice to say, I will no longer participate in my own imprisonment. It is the choice to say, I loved you. I honor that love. And times, because times I honor it, I will not use it as a cage to trap the rest of my life. It is the choice to say, I was hurt. I acknowledge that pain. And times, because times I acknowledge it, I will not let it be the author of every chapter that follows. This is not a single event. It is not a switch you flip. It is a practice. It is a moment by moment, breath by breath, return to the present. It is noticing that the fist is clenched and gently, without judgment, without anger, uncurling the fingers, again and again and again. This is the work. This is the art. It is the brave, quiet, revolutionary act of choosing times, this time's moment, over the last. So what happens? What happens in the quiet moment you decide truly to stop the fight? When you gently unclasp the fingers, one by one, from the story you have held so tightly, it is not a bolt of lightning. It is not a choir of angels. It is, at first, a feeling of strangeness. The hand, held in a fist for a decade, feels stiff. The new air on the palm feels cold, almost too vulnerable. You were expecting perhaps a rush of joy. Instead, you feel an absence. The absence of the familiar ache, the absence of the noise, the absence of the times struggle asterisk. And in this new quiet, you realize the staggering amount of energy you have been expending. You are running a furnace day and night. A furnace to keep the past hot. A furnace to fuel the grievance. To rehearse the argument. To justify the pain. It was a full-time, soul-crushing job, and you have just put down the tools. You have stopped feeding the fire. The embers still glow. The pain does not vanish. But your times, relationship times to it, has fundamentally changed. This is the awakening. You have moved from being the times, prisoner times of the feeling, to being the time's observer, times of it. You have stopped identifying with the storm and remembered that you are the sky. A wave of sadness washes over you. An old familiar shadow, and here is the change. You do not run, you do not brace, you do not analyze it, you do not immediately try to fix it or process it. You simply feel it. You let it come. You honor its presence. You notice its texture, its temperature, its weight. You breathe times into times it. And then you notice it passes. It crests and it recances. You have not been destroyed. You have not been drowned. You held it. And then it times moved asterisk. This is the freedom you were terrified of. It is not an emptiness. It is a spaciousness. It is the realization that you are not the fragile, brittle thing you thought you were. You are a vast, open, conscious space, capable of holding all of this. All of it. The joy, times and times the pain. You are no longer at war with your own experience. And what happens then? Life begins to flow times in asterisk. You had built a dam, made of your grievances, to protect yourself from ever being hurt again. But you see now, the dam was also blocking everything else. It was blocking the sunlight. It was blocking the simple, uncomplicated joy of the present moment. Suddenly you can taste your food. You can feel the texture of water, hot in a cup of tea. You listen to a piece of music, and you hear the notes, not the memories attached to the notes. The world, which had been grayed out by the filter of your past, clicks slowly back into color. You see the past and the one who hurt you, or the thing that you lost, and the sharp, hot edges of anger begin to soften. They are replaced by something much quieter. A profound, aching, gentle compassion. You see the pain you were in. You see the pain times they times were in. You see the human tragedy of it all. The simple, messy, difficult business of being alive. The story shifts. It is no longer a weapon. It is a scar. And a scar is not a wound. A scar is a testament to time's healing, asterisk. It is proof that the body knows how to close itself. It is a sign that you time survived, asterisk. The energy, the sheer life force that was bound up in that clenched fist, it begins to flow back. It returns to your heart, to your hands, to your mind. It becomes presence. It becomes curiosity. You find yourself asking a question you haven't dared to ask in years. What now? And for the first time, the question doesn't feel like a threat. It feels like an opening. It feels like the first clean page of a new chapter. So, this then is the art. It is not a grand singular act of demolition. You do not in one moment dynamite the dam. It is quieter than that. It is the gentle, daily, conscious practice of non-resistance. It is the practice of breathing. For so long you were holding your breath, bracing, waiting. And now you can inhale a full, deep, grounding breath, the first one perhaps in years. And in that single breath, there is only this moment. There is no fixing the past. There is no controlling the future. There is only times this asterisk, the feeling of air filling your lungs, the simple, profound miracle of being alive right now in this body. Look at your hand again, the one that was clenched so tightly. It is no longer a fist. It is an open palm. What is the difference? A fist clutches. It strains, it defends, it is in posture of fear. An open palm receives it feels, it connects, it can hold, and it can release with ease. You thought your strength was in the tightness of your grip. You now understand with a clarity that settles in your bones that true strength is in the softness. It is the courage to remain open, even with the scar. You once admired the mountain for its refusal to move. You now see the wisdom of the river. The river does not fight the rocks in its path. It does not try to hold on to the banks or grasp the memory of the glacier from which it was born. It yields. It flows times around, times the obstacle. It adapts. And in its constant, graceful, effortless times, letting go asterisk, it finds its way inevitably to the ocean. It holds nothing. And yet, it contains the memory of the entire journey. You began this believing you were trapped in a room holding a heavy door shut against the storm of the past. You were protecting what was inside and afraid of what was out. The art of letting go was the realization that you were not trapped at all. It was the realization that times you asterisk were the one holding the door. And you could simply walk away from it. You could let the wind blow through. You could step out of the story. The past is not erased. The love is not diminished. The lesson is not forgotten. They are simply no longer your prison. They are woven into the fabric of you. The strong, resilient, asterisk, open times, human being you have become. Letting go is not the end of the story. It is the end of the times, fight asterisk. It is the quiet, humble, and profound return to the life that has been waiting patiently for you, to finally be lived.